It's frankly great to be back with you again because the last month and a half I've been bouncing around every week between, Florida, California, New York. Where haven't I been? And Cornell Robertson, thank you for introducing our guest speakers. October was a lineup that, with your help, that I put together. We had I call it Transportation Month because we had Charlie Norman, the person who has my former position leading the Ohio BMV. We had the Colonel of the Highway Patrol, who also happens to be my backyard neighbor, by the way. Great guy. Knew him long before he was colonel, saw him rise to the ranks. And today, we were supposed to have my longtime friend, Jack Marchbanks, director of ODOT, who I had the privilege of serving with when I was 12 years on the Morpsey board and later its chair. Then he could not make it, and so he lateraled to Pam, let me get the name right, Vest Boriton, who was the chief of staff. She had a death in the family, so it was lateral to my good friend and speaker today. And what better person, because he's the chief engineer for ODOT. And come on, you guys know it's really where the rubber meets the road is what this gentleman does. And I mean that in a good way, because they just got a slug of money that was long overdue, that 10.5% tax increase for the, what is it, gasoline? You're to talk about that. You're going to talk about self-driving vehicles. You're going to talk about probably the drones, they're going to be delivering stuff. There's a lot happening, and I just want to share with you before I introduce our guest that here about 3 weeks ago, maybe more than that now, a month and a half ago, I had Colonel Fambro, and we were up at the TRC, Transportation Research Center, and I really thought seriously, because I travel all over North America, that I was in California or Michigan or one of those places where they're really advanced when it comes to transportation planning, but they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars up there in a good way for self-driving vehicles, for test vehicles. They have the only NHTSA test facility there for the test dummies. You've seen those guys bouncing around in their ads. They do it right up the street here in Marysville. But then there's also that great track up there that, the TRC is leased from Honda. If you ever get a chance to get out there, they won't let you go 265 mile an hour, which is the speed record. But we got out there and did a little, around the track a few times. But really, let me introduce our guest today. This is an important job. He's a 23-year veteran with ODOT. Lolyd MacAdam has served 7 years as District 11's Deputy Director. He served as the department as Regional Projects Manager for ODOT's Northeast Ohio Real Estate Office in Akron. I mean, you can't imagine the amount of real estate that the state of Ohio owns, but ODOT owns a lot of valuable real estate. He also served as Production Administrator for District 11 for over 11 years. Prior to his career in ODOT, Lolyd worked in and for the City of Akron Bureau of Engineering, the Summit County Engineers Office, and 4 different engineering design firms, and was a full-time professor, wow, at Kent State University Tuscarawas campus, way over there on the east side of the state. Lolyd also graduated from University of Akron in 1985 with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering, and has his professional engineering degree, surveyor's license, and is an Ohio graduate of the Certified Public Managers Program. Please welcome our guest from ODOT, Lolyd MacAdam.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks, John. It's great to be here with you today. Going to give you a little bit of a transportation outlook, and as was mentioned by Mike, unfortunately Pam wasn't able to be here with us this morning. She had a death in the family to take care of this week. So I got lateral too, as was mentioned to Mike, and it's not no problem, because I've actually done several speeches similar to this to some of our engineering groups and some of our partners that we deal with all the time. So let's talk about ODOT and its mission. So you can see on the board there that our mission is simply this: to provide easy and safe and easy movement of people and goods from place to place. That's really it. To provide safe and easy movement of people and goods from place to place. And by doing that, we're going to do it by actually doing 4 different things. First and foremost, we're going to improve safety. Unfortunately, you may not know this, but last year on Ohio's roads, and this is just Ohio, 1,160 some people died on Ohio roads. That's 3 a day. Doesn't seem possible. Doesn't seem possible. I envy the airline industry who has gone years without a fatality. They actually finally had one last year, but they actually went 9 years without a commercial airline loss of life. 9 years. That's crazy to think about. What a great safety record they have, and we obviously need to do better at the transportation industry. So number 1, we're going to improve safety. Number 2, we're going to take care of what we have. 95%, you'll see in my talk here, 95% of what we do is actually doing that, taking care of what we have. We simply repave, we replace bridges, we simply maybe widen it a little bit, but that's what the next thing is actually make our system work better. We're going to make it work better. This week, we just opened up just last week, we opened up the Smart Lane. Those of you who drive to the east side from downtown, that's going to be a life changer for you. It really is, a game changer for you. We've got lots of texts from people who make that commute every day. My 50-minute commute is now 25 minutes because of those improvements that we made there. But that's making our system work better. And then we're going to enhance the capacity from time to time. We're going to give projects that enhance the capacity. Give you an example of that. If those of you drive through downtown here, through the 70-71 split, all that construction, when it's finally done, will allow you to get through there much more quickly and easily and get that capacity through there. You'll have more lanes to do it and do it more safely that way. So that's our mission. That's what we're here for. So let's talk about ODOT and specifics to some of the statistics that talk about that. So we all remember from our geography class that Ohio is the 35th largest state. So relatively small state when you consider, especially the states out to the west. There are 34 of them that are much larger than Ohio. So we're 35th in size, so relatively small, definitely in the second half of the when you rank the states in size. But we're 7th in population. Just under 12 million people live in this state, so we're 7th in population, a significant population for the size of our state. We're 5th in the interstate and in the largest interstate systems in the country. So when you compare us to all 50 states, only 4 states have a larger interstate system than us. I-70, I-71, I-75 out in the west side, I-77 on the east side, I-80 and 90 up in north. When you add all those lane miles up, we're 5th in the country in our interstate lane miles. Hard to believe that we're that way. We actually were 4th until this year. Florida continues to add to their system with some of their tolling and stuff, and they actually surpassed Ohio to become the 4th, and now we're the 5th highest. Second highest number of bridges in the country. 44,000 bridges in the state of Ohio. 44,000. ODOT only maintains and takes care of 14,000, but those 14,000 have 67% of the traffic on the bridges. So they're the bigger ones, the larger ones. They're the ones that carry the interstate traffics and all the major state routes going through those areas. So second most bridges, only Texas has more bridges than the state of Ohio at 44,000 on that. So a couple other statistics I'll get to before I get to that last one there, the 6th. We have the 6th in the nation of the volume of freight that travels in our state. So 6th highest volumes of freight in the state. I-75, I-70, I-80, huge freight corridors, as well as I-71. These corridors carry tremendous amounts of freight through our state. And we're actually third in we have the 3rd most active rail line mileage in the country. Think about that. More active rail lines than California and obviously 46 other states that come there. So 3rd highest active rail lines in the country. And finally, this last one here, the 6th. We're the 6th highest number of vehicle miles traveled. Let me get the exact number here. The vehicles mile traveled, 120 billion vehicle miles traveled in our state every year. 120 billion vehicles mile traveled by all vehicles on our system. And it's incredible. We actually, with today's technology, it's pretty easy for us to count that anymore with the Bluetooth technology, so you can actually calculate that rather quickly. So you can see there that it's clear that Ohio, because of its location, we're essentially the crossroads of America. Okay, we're the crossroads of America. You can see here, this circle is a day's drive, and you can see that 60% of the population of America and 60% of the population of Canada are within 1 day's drive of Ohio. Our location's unique. We're the crossroads of that America, of that freight, all that freight industry. There is a tremendous amount of freight traveling to this state, and our transportation system touched the lives of every man and woman in this state and child every day. Every day we're using our transportation system to go somewhere. And it touches our lives every day. Our people visiting family, friends, and many other wonderful parks and tourist attractions, and just doing business. They're using our system. And our highways and roads represent the biggest investment the biggest man-made investment in the state of Ohio. $115 billion is what it would cost to replace our transportation system today. That's a big number. $115 billion. About $65 billion of that would be in our pavements. Another $25 billion in some of our bridges. And then the remainder is going to be in everything else, the traffic signals, the barriers, the everything else that comes along with the transportation system. So it's a vast system. And thanks to the wisdom of our governor, Mike DeWine, we have got a much better picture now. So let's go back to day 5 of his administration. Day 5 of his administration, Governor DeWine called together Director Marchbanks and some of the other key cabinet agencies that deal with transportation. And he asked Director Marchbanks and myself as his chief engineer and said, guys, I keep hearing all around the state about this transportation revenue problem. There's not enough money to take care of what we have. As I travel to local governments in the cities and in the counties and even in state government, there's not enough money to take care of what we have. And we told him, as a matter of fact, Governor, this year is the first year that the Department of Transportation, ODOT, doesn't have enough money to take care of its own system. In other words, we're not paving as quickly as we should be, and we're not actually replacing bridges as quick as we should be. We had to move $155 million worth of projects into out years because we couldn't afford to do it this year. And our local governments, the cities, the counties, and we have a county engineer right here that can attest to this, have been in this situation for probably a decade or so, where they didn't have enough money to take care of the system that they had. And so this was a serious problem. So he went back, he asked the director and myself, he said, go back and calculate and see how much you need. And we came back and told him what we need, and after his jaw hit the ground, the table that he was sitting on, and he came back and said, okay, we're gonna move forward, we're gonna do what's best for the state of Ohio, we're gonna do that. So you saw the proposal that was placed by the administration, 18 cents and indexed to the Consumer Price Index, and that was what presented in early February, actually late February, early March, with the transportation bill. And you saw the response that the House had and the response that the Senate had, and then it came down to the conference committee. And I can tell you a story about that last day of that. Basically, the House and Senate were agreeing on a state that was much less than what we ended up with on the day that this thing was supposed to be signed, the very next day by the governor. And the governor didn't like it, and he simply said, that's not good enough, and walked out of the room. We'll see you Monday. And that's what happened. We saw him Monday, and when we come back Monday, we got to higher and better. And but basically what happened was we got an additional 10.5 cents increase on our gasoline, and we got an additional 19 cents on our diesel. And you can also see that the local governments in our ODOT distribution, which has historically been 60% ODOT, 40% local governments, is now at 55% ODOT, 45% local governments. In other words, the new monies that we got, this additional 10.5 cents and 19 cents, is now at a higher rate to our local governments. So they're getting it at a higher rate than we have in the past. So it was clear that talking about this with our local governments and the governor talking to this with our local governments and our legislators, that the locals probably needed it a little bit more than the Department of Transportation did. So that's why they increased that. So what does that do to the state of Ohio? So it was signed into law, and actually I took that picture on April the 3rd when Governor Mike DeWine was just getting ready to sign that. It gives ODOT an additional $450 million annually. That's significant. For us, that's a roughly 14% increase in our revenue from the state motor vehicle user fee. The local governments get $370 million annually. And that, every city gets an average of 62.5% increase in their motor vehicle user fee. So if they got $1,000 before, they're gonna get $1,625 now. I don't know, 62.5% increase for the cities. The townships actually did a little bit better, 67% increase on their revenues from the motor vehicle user fee. And then every county engineer, just like Cornell over here, they get an even 1/88 split of the revenue. And in the before, they were getting roughly 2.45 million, and now they're getting roughly 4 million a year in this revenue. So that's a 1.53 million increase to their budget, and that's 62.8% increase in their motor vehicle user fee. Now, Cornell and all the county engineers get additional revenue by people who get registrations and the number of registrations and those kinds of things, but this is the base for every county engineer that gets this part to start with. So that's a significant increase for them. So that's a great thing, and our local governments now have monies to take care of some of the roads that have been basically not taken care of as quickly as they should have been in the past, and they can take care of those now in a much better fashion, as well as the Department of Transportation. Let's talk about the state up north. They have been in this situation for about 15 years now, a long time, a significant amount of time, and they actually let their revenue get to a point where actually there's a tipping point when it takes you much more to get back, and they let it get over the top for a little bit, and they're actually we're already a much higher tax rate than we are on our motor vehicle user fees, and they're higher already, and they want to double it. If you've seen anything from their governor, they're actually wanting to make it higher yet, significantly higher yet. The states around us are all still higher in their motor vehicle user fee than we are. That's why you're paying less in this state than you are in any of the surrounding states. We're still a lower motor vehicle user fee than in the states around us. So, and actually the highest in the country is Pennsylvania, just to our east. They are the highest motor vehicle user fee in the state. That's why when you go across the border, it goes up almost 50 cents in the gas tax as you cross the border. So we're still the most conservative yet responsible state in getting our local governments what they need. So what does it mean for ODOT, and how does this affect ODOT's system? So what you see here on this chart is the pavement and bridges treated and safety projects we were going to do in our previous budget without the additional revenue. And then this is 2 years worth of projects from state fiscal year 2020 and state fiscal year 2021. This is what the difference is. So in the before, we were going to pave 6,815 lane miles. Now we're going to be able to do 8,289 lane miles across the state. And that's a 21% increase in the amount of lane miles that ODOT's going to do over the next 2 years. That's significant. That's a significant amount. The number of bridges we're going to take care of those 44,000 bridges, we're going to take care of 1,700 of them in the before, and now we're going to take care of 2,169, or 26% increase of bridges that we're going to take care of. Now, these aren't going to be total replacements. There's sometimes deck replacements or repairing just some of the bad decks on some of those things, but a lot of times they're complete replacements where we've got to replace them. Much of our interstate bridges that were built in the 50s and 60s are now 60 and 70 years old. It's time to replace these things. They're generally a 50 to 70 year life, and it's time to replace many of these bridges. You can see on the safety projects, and we'll talk a little bit more specifically about the safety projects in a moment, but 145 projects were going to be done in the before, and now 221 safety projects over the next 2 years will be done, a significant increase of 52%. That's significant for safety. So let's talk a little bit about asset management. The reason ODOT was able to basically not be in the same path as some of our local governments is we incorporated some asset management strategies about 7 years ago now. And those asset management strategies basically say, take a look at our system from an asset management standpoint. In other words, if you've got a pavement that is maybe not quite ready to have any problems or like that, if you seal that pavement, it'll make that pavement last years and years longer. What the damage done to the pavements is basically done by water getting to our inside of our cracks, underneath our subbases, and then it freezes and breaks up and makes potholes. That's what happens to our pavements. And if you can seal that pavement with things like chip sealing and micro surface overlays, it will take care of that. So ODOT about 7 years ago incorporated asset management and was able to continue to keep our system going, but it's just not the same treatments we're used to. So some of the rural areas with low volume ADTs are actually getting chip sealed out in the states. Many of those routes are getting chip sealed without the states. And we're actually micro surfacing in the more urban areas such as this, where we're going to basically put a seal over that, basically a 3/4 inch seal on top of that pavement. And it looks like it's been paved, but it really hasn't been resurfaced with hot mix asphalt. It's actually been sealed with a microsurface overlay. So that asset management has helped us to spread that problem out for years and years. And this was the first year we weren't gonna have enough money to take care of what we had. So we were able to do that. So ODOT's been utilizing that for many years. We've used it on both our pavements and our bridges. And it's something that you should understand and know. So when you see out in the rural counties, some of these state routes being chip sealed, that's what we're doing. We're gonna continue to do this. This new revenue, this is gonna help us be more efficient in what we do. So we'll continue to do that. So here's a little bit about the pavement management system. If you can see on the left there, the typical degradation of a pavement is that red curve. Well, if you resurface that thing every so often, it makes it last longer, and it costs a lot less to do that. It costs about 1/3 of a full paving job to do that, and you can make that pavement last much longer. So that's the science behind it. I don't want to bore you with all my details and stuff like that, but that helped us save the $300 to $400 million over those 6 years that we did that. So it helped us basically get to the point where we didn't need the revenue as quickly as some of our local governments. So with this new revenue, we're going to be able to do some of those major projects. So the projects that you guys are used to seeing us do in downtown, down there at 7071, and up there, there's projects in Cincinnati that are also ongoing on I-75. We've got projects up in Cleveland on I-90. We've got it in other major cities across the state where we're doing major projects. For the last 3 years, there were basically no new major projects happening, okay, because we didn't have any major projects money. That money is done after we've done all of our taking care of what we have. So we didn't have any of that money. So those projects weren't going to be happening nearly as quickly as we could have. Because of this new revenue increase, we're now going to spend about $150 million a year on our major new projects across the state of Ohio. Not just in Columbus, but obviously all across the state of Ohio. And our TRAC program is going to be revived once again. So here's a project that we just sold back in, we actually began construction back in March of this year. This is the I-77 one CROSSROADS, which creates a brand new exit ramp onto Parsons for the Nationwide Hospital there. It also is the reason that you've got the different 71-70 split now. It's backwards now for those of you that drive through there every day from the west to the east. Just watch your lanes, stay in your lanes, watch the signs, and you'll be okay. We've actually made that a little bit better with some signage and stuff on some of the problems that we've had. But you just keep aware that if you want to go 70 east, you actually have to go left. Okay, it's crazy. So it's a little different than what you're used to down there. So just continue to watch the signs as we work through that. That project will continue over the next few years, clear out to where 71 goes south and obviously 315 goes north. That whole interchange is going to get an upgrade over the next few years, but we're working our way out that way. There are actually 3 projects that have to go before that. We get to that point over the next few years, but those are not possible because of the revenue that the governor and the legislature was so kind to give the state of Ohio and all of its local governments as well as the Department of Transportation. So, some additional track projects that are going to happen in central Ohio. Actually, this is statewide. Hamilton I-75 Mill Creek Expressway Phase 5B. That's a $91 million project down in Cincinnati where we're continuing to widen I-75 north from the Brent Spence Bridge all the way up to I-275. Up in Toledo, Lucas I-475 and Dorr Street, a brand new interchange is being built there. About $45 million worth of TRAC funds are going to be spent on that, and TRAC is our major new projects that are happening. Cauga, basically CCG 7A, that's a phase of one of the projects up there in I-90. That's an additional $6 million that's going to be spent up there. And then you see the 2 Franklin I-70-71, Phase 3B and Phase 4R. Those are the next 2 phases of the projects that are going to be sold. One will be sold in March of next year, and one will be sold actually over the winter of the following year. Phase 4R, will be sold on that. So those are $33 and $103 million projects as we continue to work our way east. And actually the first one, the 3B, is actually 71 to the north of the interchange that's there up to the 670 interchange. So we're going to be widening it out, adding a lane in each direction and making that better for the folks coming north and south on 71. The last project on this list is Montgomery 35 out there in Dayton. We're going to be doing an additional $9 million of work to continue that the US 35 project down there near the city of Dayton. And you can see $287 million is going to be going right away. These projects have already been designed, and we're waiting for construction money, and we now have that construction money to make this happen with this revenue. So, other things that it did for us, for transit, historically, the last three revenue budget bills, which are 2-year bills, for the last 6 years, ODOT has had to flex its monies from the federal government and given to our transit agencies. Well, this new House Bill 62 actually increased that funding to $70 million to our transit agencies across the state, and it actually is coming from the state general revenue fund instead of ODOT's fund. So that is a net win for ODOT and the local governments that can use that money on other things such as roads and bridges. We're also capturing, for the first time ever, some alternative fuels. If you drove an all-electric vehicle, you didn't pay any money towards our gas tax, towards the user fee for the gas tax. It's now on an annual basis, beginning next January of 20, all electric vehicles will be charged an additional $200 annually that will go towards the motor vehicle user fee to help pay for road damages. And hybrid vehicles will be $100 annually towards that. So they're going to pay a $100 fee every year to when they register their vehicle every year. So one other thing that's never been captured is the compressed natural gas. I come from Eastern Ohio, where the oil and gas exploration's been going on for since 2011 now, and a lot of that's been going on. And there's a lot of CNG stations in my region over there in Eastern Ohio, where I'm from, and there's no charge on them. So those vehicles are running tax-free as well. We're now going to be capturing natural gas beginning next year at diesel levels. So it's going to be captured just like diesel is at the 47 cents per gallon as well. So these three things will add additional revenue to our local governments and others, as well as the Department of Transportation at that 55% and /45% ratio that we talked about earlier. So the governor is passionate about safety, and he's been very passionate about safety, and you can see him there holding up the list of top 150 intersections in the state of Ohio that are the worst. In other words, they have the highest accident rating and the highest fatality rates in the state of Ohio. And he's asked us to take care of those top 150 intersections across the state of Ohio. So the top 50 urban, in other words, projects right in the urban areas such as Columbus here, the top 50 suburban in the surrounding areas such as around the outskirts of Columbus, and then the top 50 rural intersections in the state of Ohio will all be taken care of over the next 5 years. And we're going to be actually taking on and basically replacing that dangerous intersection as it exists today and fixing it so that's much less dangerous. An example would be maybe it's a T intersection just like this where there's been T-bow accidents and people have been killed at a traffic light that exists there. Perhaps maybe a roundabout would make that a much safer intersection there. So each of those are going to be studied, funded to be constructed to make it much safer for our drivers as they enter those. It's no secret that most of our fatalities happen at conflict points such as intersections. And we were trying to minimize the worst of the worst by taking care of these top 150 intersections in the state of Ohio. Here's an example of one of the list of those. You can see in Franklin County, Franklin State Route 116, State Route 16 East Broad Street at County Road 77, and also State Route 161 at that's East Dublin Granville Road at Maple Canyon Avenue. These two projects, there's 161 in Maple Canyon. We're going to be widening those intersections, fixing them out, adding additional turn lanes, and making it much safer for signage and those kinds of things to make it better. Actually creating some frontage roads so people can get to those local businesses that are there and stuff like that to make it much safer. And there's the one at Broad and James, which has also been a problem. We're going to be widening it, buying additional rights of way, and making that intersection safer for those folks as well. So these things will make these intersections, which are already on the top list of that top 150, to get them off of that list. So there's a whole bunch of list of projects here that I'm not going to go through one by one. We don't have enough time. One other thing that our director basically committed to the legislature was we're not just going to, ODOT's just not going to just spend this money and do nothing back. We're going to get more efficient in our own ways. So we've created a committee at the Department of Transportation where we're going to, over the next 4 years, save $100 million in efficiencies. So those efficiencies, let me give an example of one of those efficiencies. The first example I can think of is we pay a tremendous amount of electric bills as the Department of Transportation. So we have over almost 200 basically buildings that we pay electric bills on. So every one of our counties has a county garage, and then there's some outposts and other things. So there's almost 200 vehicles that we pay electric bills on. We found that if we consolidate those into one and aggregate those into one and then allow the electric companies to bid on that, saves us roughly 15%. So that's 15% less electric bills we've got to pay. Think about all the traffic signals we have. We've got traffic signals all over the state of Ohio, hundreds of them. And we pay a bill on every one of those. We're going to aggregate those as well and get some money, cost savings there. We're just going to get more efficient in the way we do things. We're going to be more efficient in what we do, and we've committed to save $100 million. Matter of fact, the last report I saw, which was just last week, we're at $11 million savings in the first 4 or 5 months of this campaign, so we're excited about that. Finally, we are still into technology, real-time GPS fleet monitoring. So every one of our snowplows now has this installed in them. So basically what this is basically a GPS that tells the management where that driver is, and he can call that guy and say, hey, you're going north on State Route 39. I need you to come and go over 516. They've had a big whiteout of snow, and we need you to move over to this place. So they can tell that driver to go there. And the cool thing is that manager can also take a picture while that guy's driving and see exactly what he's looking at as he's driving. It's kind of a cool thing. So we've got some real technology to make us more efficient in the way we do our snowplow routing. So one of the things you should understand about that, of course, here's the smart lane, but let's talk about snowplow real quick again. When you talk about snowplows, you should understand this. When we have a route, that route generally takes about an hour and 20 minutes for that driver to run, and there's one truck on that route. Okay, that's the way this works. So when you see a snowplow driver, it's snowing hard, and it's snowing really hard, you're not gonna see him again for another hour and 20 minutes or so. So just understand that's the way that works, and I know that Cornell's the same way. You've got a route, you got one driver on that route, and he's taking care of that route. And if it's snowing really hard, it's gonna get bad for a few hours before it gets better, before that slows down enough. And we don't have enough drivers to take care of every route with 2 or 3 trucks. We only have one route, one driver for that route, so make sure you understand that. So, Smart Lane, just opened up last week. Tremendous success. Those of you that travel from downtown out to the east towards the airport know every afternoon it was a significant backup for decades now, really for decades. And like I mentioned earlier, the opening of this has dramatically increased. Now I've got to put a caveat on this because just today we had to close 2 lanes on it because there was a problem with one of the bridge approach slabs that we're having to fix this afternoon. It'll be done this afternoon, but today's commute on the way home will be ugly. But after today, I promise it's going to be back to normal, okay? It just happened today, happened this morning, they had to close it, so it's a mess out there. So if you go home that way normally, don't go home that way today. Tomorrow I'll go home that way. It'll be fine again. So just today on that. So innovation at work. You probably heard of Drive Ohio. Drive Ohio is an initiative of ODOT. It's basically our initiative to basically, let's look toward all these autonomous vehicles. How many of you have a vehicle that now has some of that cool stuff like adaptive cruise control, the assistant braking? Those are some really cool things. ODOT just got its first vehicle like that, and I got to be one of the first drivers on it. And I was shocked to death when all of a sudden I was driving in the dark, and all of a sudden my brights came on because there was nobody out in front of me, and then they went back off again as soon as somebody came up there. That was really cool. I'd never driven a car like that, so that was really neat. But innovation at work, we're going to be taking advantage of that. We have a division that's called Fly Ohio as well, that's dealing with the drones and working with our basically all the folks that are dealing with drones. There's new laws being created in the state of Ohio to make it better for that. It won't be long before you'll be getting your packages via drone. It's changing that fast on that kind of stuff, so we're trying to stay ahead of all that. Drive Ohio, again, another great facet of ODOT, and these folks are working with the folks up in Marysville. So you may not know this, but we've put 35 miles of fiber into the ground on US 33 from Dublin to Marysville. And we're also putting up DSRC units. These DSRC units are talking to the cars as they're driving down the road. So there are going to be 400 vehicles, some of them Honda employees, some of them ODOT employees, some of them just people that work and live in Marysville. They're going to be driving that corridor, and we're going to be testing that communication back and forth with those vehicles. Drive Ohio is on the forefront of all this. The Department of Transportation just got a $17.5 million grant from Federal Highway to test this in the rural areas out in Athens County, as trucks and cars drive through the rural areas and deal with loss and gaps of Wi-Fi and cellular service. How does that affect that? We need to study that as a nation and find out what's the best way. 97% of America is in the rural area. So we got to figure out, how does this work everywhere? It's got to work everywhere before we can deploy it. So Drive Ohio is at the forefront of all those initiatives for the state of Ohio. As you can see there, our workforce, there's 4,900 employees at the Department of Transportation. 4,900. And that number has not grown for now 8 years. We're not getting bigger. We're staying the same, doing more with less. Okay, a lot more coming at us. We got a lot more stuff coming, but we're not getting there. We also hire 500 temporary winter workers to help us with the snow and ice in those areas. 400 veterans, 1,200 females, and 626 minorities as part of our workforce. So we're very fortunate in that matter. So I think I'm about done. Our governor's asked us to also start a task force for our distracted driving. As you drive down the roads, it's very obvious to you as you drive around and look at those folks driving beside you that there's a problem with our distracted driving in our country, in our state, as well as that. And we're hopeful that through the governor's leadership that we actually have a distracted driving law coming in place soon. So we're hoping for that. Count on ODOT. I'll answer any questions now if anybody has any. You were done?
Got time for one question. Take one question.
Yes, sir.
What is a smart lane?
What's that? A smart lane. Okay. A great question. The question is, what is a smart lane? Smart lane is basically a lane that is not normally open. So on I-670 east of town, that lane is the shoulder. Okay, and the reason we have to lower the speed limit when we do that, when you don't have a shoulder, your road's not as safe as it used to be, because we need to have that escape zone for when you're traveling at high speed like 65. You need to have an escape zone. Well, if you don't have that escape zone on one side or the other, you have to lower the speed limit, because that's the standards that the federal highway puts out for us. So that smart lane, it's smart because our folks in our office and over on Broad Street there are actually going to turn that on and off every day. So they're going to watch that. They're going to utilize that. Matter of fact, right now it's being utilized to tell you those 2 lanes are closed right now because we got a construction be going on right there. So it's a smart lane in the fact that it's smart because we're managing it. So for the first time ever, instead of just reacting to traffic, we're actually managing traffic now. We see it start to build up. We see it there around 3:30 every day. We're going to open that smart lane up and allow that people to go through there. But before we do that, we have to make sure that lane's safe. What if someone dropped something on that and maybe a brick fell out of a truck? We don't want to have people driving over bricks. So we've got to basically sweep that thing. So we're going to sweep that both with a truck actually, and then we'll actually sweep it with our cameras. We have 49 cameras along that route now that are monitoring that smart lane. But great question. Turn it back to you, John.
Thank you, and I kind of short time for questions there, so hopefully you'll stick around a few more minutes, because I know I saw more hands up there. And with that, thank you all for coming.